It's the next level.
Hmm? Ah!
It was my fault. We found a plane, a Beechcraft, in the jungle. It was lodged in the canopy, so I would have gone up, but my leg was hurt, so there was a radio inside, and he thought he could. Like, his weight must have made the plane shift, and it fell, and happened because he was trying to help us. He was a hero.
Welcome, survivors, back into another episode of We Have to Go Back, Lost Revisited, from the Next Level Podcast Network. I am Ben Beck.
And from the Podcastica Network, I am Kristin Howell.
And... No, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you. We're already off to a bang-off start.
Woohoo! I was going to say, this episode, we continue on our rewatch as we cover Season 1, Episode 21, The Greater Good.
A.K.A. Sides. That's actually what it's called. I'm not calling it AKA anything. It's actually called The Greater Good, AKA Sides. So
is it AKA or was it just in parentheses?
No, it says in parentheses AKA Sides. So I don't know what the point of that was, but that's the name of the episode.
But we could talk about it later.
Yeah. We can talk about it as we go through.
We can talk about whatever we want. This is our podcast.
That's very, very, very true. So let's just skip Lost this week. No, it's not skip Lost this week. That's what we're here to talk about.
As long as we don't skip Manifest minutes, man.
You are absolutely loving the fact that we incorporate Manifest into it now.
Like big time.
Yeah. And it's funny, too. I actually had a friend of mine posted online some of the new shows that she's been enjoying watching, and two of the new shows were New Amsterdam and Manifest. And New Amsterdam, I have to say, I know we're breaking topic for a minute, but I watched this week's episode of New Amsterdam, and I don't know if you have yet.
Not yet.
But honest to God,
I'm 2 behind.
I got teared up 2 or 3 times this week.
I cry every episode.
It is. I'm not spoiling anything, but I've never been into medical dramas and never got into Grey's Anatomy. House was really the last and only medical drama I ever got into before, and that was purely for Hugh Laurie. But this, honestly, with next to like Manifest, New Amsterdam is one of the best shows on TV right now.
Yeah,
one of the best new shows on TV.
I would definitely agree with that. Well, Dave doesn't like medical dramas just as a general rule. The only one he's ever really enjoyed was Scrubs.
That's not a drama, though. That's a sitcom. Okay.
But as far as medical shows go, because he's in the medical field, and so, he gets all hung up on, what's realistic and what isn't. And Scrubs
that's
apparently
how I am
was
with, like, Fire Company.
Yeah. Okay. So he goes, I don't really need to watch a medical show. I said, we're watching New Amsterdam. So he went out of town. He went out of town a couple weeks ago, and he texts me. He goes, so I'm on like my 4th episode of New Amsterdam. And I said, it's really good. So I was excited.
Yeah, it covers so many elements of working in a hospital that regular procedural medical dramas don't cover. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. And that, like I said, that's one of the reasons why, the same way Dave is with your husband is with medical dramas, is the same way I am about fire procedurals, like Chicago Fire and stuff like that. Is I'm like, I don't want to watch these because they're so unrealistic. But it's one of the reasons why I absolutely loved Rescue Me, was because it was so real.
And bringing it back to Manifest, Danny was apparently from Rescue Me. That's what Dave said. And I think you said that as well.
I did. Yeah. I remember him from Rescue Me.
But he was a jerk in Grey's Anatomy, so it's hard for me to separate that. And I know that you have the opposite feeling.
I do.
So it's interesting with that actor. You should try and get him on your Spotlight podcast.
I should. And then just share it on here, too.
Yeah, you should tell him that he was big fat jerk on Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. So, I will do that, though. I'll try and get him on. Still working on some of the people from Lost at the same time. I want to get at least one for the time in between season 1 and season 2.
Season 2.
So I'm still working pretty hard at that. Hopefully, I got a couple nibbles. I'm still waiting on the bite. In particular, the one that, like I said, I think he's filming that small space movie somewhere.
It's an indie film, so he'll be done super quick.
I actually think he's already done. I think he's already filmed.
Oh, then he must be dead.
What do you think this is? A George R.R. Martin movie?
Well, George R.R. Martin showrunners are going to be penning 3 future movies of the Star Wars universe, so anything's possible.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Wow, we are so off topic, but I don't care.
I know.
I don't really care. George R.R. Martin in Star Wars really frightens me.
Well, it's not George R.R. Martin. It's the showrunners, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss.
Oh, well, that's different.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Different as in the same.
It's funny because in the group that we're both a part of online, I posted a trailer for George R.R. Martin's new space show premiering on Sci-Fi. And
Night Flyers.
Yeah, Night Flyers. And I literally put in the description, I was like, George R.R. Martin is behind this, which means everybody's going to die, but I don't care. I'll still watch it.
Yeah, I know. Anybody who's famous or a lead character is probably not going to make it past episode 3.
No, probably not. Ned Starks.
All right. Hey, you want to talk about Lost?
Yeah, let's talk about Lost.
Cool, man.
So, new episodes of this podcast every Friday. We are a spoiler-full podcast, so please be aware of that as you're listening. But yeah, let's get into it. This week, we're talking episode 21, The Greater Good, a.k.a. Sides. So, definitely, we're back to... Well, I mean, we're not... I mentioned last week when we were talking about last week's episode about how it was pretty straightforward in that there wasn't any mysteries of the island or anything like that. And I think there's a little bit more of that still this week. There's not really any mysteries going on. There's no black smoke monster. We don't get any sight of the hatch or anything like that. But I think, it's a pretty straightforward episode.
I would agree. I think it is a straightforward episode as far as the mysteries go. But if you just look at kind of what's going on in the aftermath of Boone's death in this episode, there's a lot of politicking that is going on. Locke wants forgiveness from Shannon. He doesn't want to be viewed negatively to the other survivors, so he shows up where everybody is during Boone's memorial, which I'm not sure was a very good idea.
Considering, and this isn't any of my top 3, so I can mention this, but, and I apologize if it is one of yours, when he shows up, he's still wearing the blood of Boone.
Man, that is in my notes. It's not in my top 3, but it was something I wanted to talk about. I had such issue with this. I can't believe, first he shows up to Boone's memorial covered in Boone's blood. Then he shows up to Shannon with Boone's backpack covered in Boone's blood and sits next to her and talks to her about Boone's death wearing Boone's blood. And then we see him washing out the blood in everybody's drinking water.
Was it in the drinking water? I didn't even pick up on that part.
That's where I see everybody get all of their water bottles.
Oh, well, that's not right at all. That I didn't even pick up on.
So it's just this complete disregard for other people. But at the same time, being in Boone's blood the whole time, you have to kind of question his sanity in that moment. Obviously, Boone's death affected him in a mental state, emotionally, physically. I mean, I can only imagine kind of what a mind fuck it was for him to lose the power of his legs, watch this kid die, and then his legs are magically working again. Then he has to carry Boone to the caves. Then he lies to Jack about how Boone got that way. Then Boone dies. He's still covered in Boone's blood. he shows up at the memorial. He gets attacked by Jack. Then he tries to get in with Shannon. That doesn't work. He washes the blood off of his shirt and everybody's drinking water. Then he's held at gunpoint. Then he's shot at and he gets his head grazed. And then Saeed's up his ass. So, it's a weird sequence of events for John Locke in the last 3 episodes.
That's for certain, for sure. Let's jump into our top 3. Sure. And before we go too deep and then we start going into our tops for the episode, I've actually kicked it off for the last 2 weeks, so I'll bring it back to you this time. What's your number 3 for?
So my number 3 was kind of a question. It was a question that I had throughout the entire episode. So I kind of wanted to discuss it with you a little bit and see what you thought. So I don't have a lot of information because I'd like for us to discuss it.
Okay.
But it's basically the purpose of this flashback. Every single episode that we've had for the first 20 episodes, I can see the lesson that's being taught from the flashback to what's going on the island and how they tie together. And I really struggled with this one this week. I have a few ideas in the fact that Saeed says something to Assam where he says, innocent lives will be lost in service to a greater good. He says that to his friend Assam when he's trying to convince him to go through with being a martyr in this bombing that they've both been roped into. So my tie-in with that line is that Locke, I know, will eventually think that Boone died in service to a greater good for the island, in service to Locke and for everybody else. But that's not a greater good that ties in with a lesson that Saeed needs to learn. Do you think that this flashback has anything to do with a lesson that Saeed had to learn on the island as it has happened in the past?
It's funny that you bring this up, and it's showing like how on the same wavelength our brains tend to be sometimes when it comes to this show, is because that was actually something I was watching as I was watching this episode too. And like you, I was having trouble putting the two of them together. Like I couldn't figure out what this backstory was pertaining to the episode. I don't know if I believe it has anything to do with a lesson that Saeed has to learn. I think in my opinion, the only thing that I could piece together relating this flashback to the current events of what was happening on the island is I think it's scenario rather than lesson. I think this is a scenario, if you look at the flashback, this was a scenario where Saeed had an opportunity to save somebody that he knew. And he took to it a little too late, and in the end it cost them their life. And I think comparing the two, you can kind of see that in the situation where he sees Shannon going down a dark path. And especially when Shannon comes to Saeed and says, I need you to do something for me. I need you to take care of John. John Locke murdered my brother. What are you going to do about that? I think he sees another situation where he has an opportunity to save somebody, this time that being Shannon. But I also question that because he does still take the time to confront Locke. So I don't know if he had the intention of actually doing something to Locke or if he did that to make sure what he was going to do was right, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think that Saeed does everything with a lot of thought. As an interrogator, as a past interrogator and somebody who I think struggles with his past a lot. I think that if he were to find out that Locke did, in fact, it was directly responsible for Boone's death in a malicious way or on purpose, that he would have absolutely had no trouble putting Locke down. But with the fact that it was an accident, it was definitely a non-intentional consequence of the sequence of events that happened with Boone and Locke. And Saeed was able to see that as it was. I mean, a lot of times when you're consumed with grief, you don't really see much else other than your grief. And that's not even on purpose. That's not even Shannon's fault. That's just Shannon dealing with, an impossible situation.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of fault that you can really find anywhere in this situation. It's just a bad, bad situation. Another link that I can think of with the purpose of the flashback is like I said earlier, Saeed said that thing to Assam, innocent lives will be lost in service to a greater good. At the very end of this episode, Saeed tells Locke that he saved him because he thinks that he's the best hope that they have of surviving the island. Now, is that a different way of saying I think that saving you is best for the greater good so that less innocent lives die in the end?
I think it is. I mean, you even look back at the conversation that him and John Locke have, and when John is thanking him at the end for, intervening with Shannon, Saeed says to him directly, like, I feel like you're our best chance at survival. Mm-hmm. So I think that's very, very clearly that he thinks John being alive is in maybe Boone's, not necessarily Boone's sacrifice, but, keeping John around. I think it is for the greater good. I think Saeed does believe it's for the greater good.
Okay, well, then I guess maybe that's the link.
Yeah, I mean, because again, like, I can't see him believing Boone's sacrifice was for the greater good, but keeping John alive, I believe.
Okay.
He feels that way.
It's a pretty weak link. I mean, it's probably more exposition just to learn more about Saeed than anything else, because usually the link by the end of the episode is very clear. And in this one, it was very fuzzy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. Like I said, I watched it and I was trying to make the tie-in, and I couldn't make it as clear as we had before. Everything that I had come up with was very loosely tied into the flashback. The one thing I did notice from the flashback too, and this isn't in my top 3, this is more another note, is I'm starting to notice another trend with these characters, and that's custody. We've seen a number of these characters that we've already seen flashbacks to. We're having seen a majority of them have been in custody at some point or another. We've seen, obviously we saw Kate in custody from the U.S. Marshal. We saw Sawyer in custody in a police station in the background of Jack's backstory. We saw Hurley taken into custody during his.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Saeed was taken into custody at the airport in this flashback. So I don't know if we saw anything with Jin taken into custody.
Well, he is still wearing handcuffs.
That's true. That's very true. So he's currently technically on the island at one point was in custody. And I think Jack so far is the only one we haven't seen yet in custody.
Yeah, well, if I had my druthers about it, I'd put him in custody.
I know you would.
I'm glad that he had sleeping pills so that he could take a little nap for a little bit.
Well, that's just Kate drugging him. That wasn't...
Baby Jack needed a nap.
All right, on that note, I'm going to jump into my
What's your number 3?
I'm going to jump into my number 3. I'm going to divert a little bit because you mentioned baby. So
Baby Jack. Oh, yay. I know what you're going to talk about.
I'm going into mine, and how every once in a while I like to put the clever little names on mine. I am calling my number 3 The Soothing Sounds of Sawyer. Because this was
okay, so really quick, my number 2 is Sawyer and the Turnip Head. So
I do have Turnip Head written down too, because that is the first. Because I don't think at this point we've heard a name of the baby yet. We know the baby's name is Aaron.
Right. She hasn't named the baby yet.
She hasn't named the baby yet. So as of right now, Charlie has deemed the baby Turnip Head. But I found this such a funny and yet sweet side story at the same time, in that when Charlie is taking, trying to step up and be responsible and give Claire the break that she needs and take Turnip Head, and we get those moments where he's got the baby down by the beach, he can't get the baby to stop crying, in steps Hurley, and Hurley breaks out the big guns that don't work. And
Hey, I'm sorry, but that scared the shit out of me, and I was on my couch. He's like, wow! I'm like, what are you doing? Stop.
I feel good. And the funniest part about that too, the part that I'm thinking about as I'm watching that, is it has to be fun to film that scene, because it's literally just Jorge Garcia and Dominic Monaghan singing to a fake baby, on a beach. Like, you gotta have to imagine there are outtakes of that somewhere. But that's neither here nor there. But when the big guns don't work, what does it take is the baby starts quieting down as it hears Sawyer's voice. And it's funny watching Charlie kind of like follow Sawyer along, realizing that's what's happening, until we get to the end of the episode when we get Sawyer reading from a car mechanic magazine, which is keeping Turniphead quiet.
It was awesome.
Which we're starting to see a different side of Sawyer. Last week we saw him kind of step up when things needed to be done and without questioning everything. And we kind of got that again this week. And I don't know if you noticed it.
Oh, of course I noticed it. He was helping with the raft. He did the other thing, and he held Jack back at the memorial. And then when Jack collapsed,
get some water.
Called out, get some water.
Yes. And
then he was reading to Turniphead, which was just so cute with his little mismatched glasses. No, Sawyer definitely has taken a turn in the right direction. He's starting to become the Sawyer that we all kind of know and love. He is going to take some back steps like he always does, because he's Sawyer and he's imperfect. But man, I am loving the charming side of Sawyer right now.
Yeah, but I mean, the one part that really surprised me, because I had completely forgotten about it, was, when Jack is ready to collapse, the one person who's there to kind of help him a little bit is Sawyer, and screaming like, get some water. I mean, these are two guys that have butted heads pretty much the entire time they've been on this island.
Because Jack is an arrogant piece of trash when it comes to Sawyer.
Sorry, Des. Jack is the worst.
Jack is the worst.
Yeah, but and I'm starting to feel that way too, because there's really, oh God, there's just Jack's reaction to seeing Locke at the funeral was just like, I mean, first off, they made Matthew Fox look really sickly. So they did a great job with making him still look like he's weak because he is pale as a horse when you see his face from John Locke returning. So bravo to them, because they did a great job in making him look that way. But his reaction, I think, to seeing John Locke, while I think in some ways is merited because he believes them to be a murderer, is a little exaggerated.
Well, thinking that John Locke is a murderer also was a little over the top in Drama Queen, because come on, yes, was Locke indirectly responsible of Boone's death? 100%. 100%. Did he do it on purpose or maliciously? Absolutely not. You can't be a murderer if you didn't do it on purpose.
No, but also as audience members, we have the full story. We know what happened. If you look at it from Jack's perspective, he's got a guy who was literally just dropped off. His legs are crushed when he was told he fell off of a cliff. I can kind of see it a little bit, but I would still question before flat out accusing, like Jack did. So Jack was definitely in the wrong. I agree with that part.
Okay.
What's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 is Sawyer and Turniphead.
Oh, that's right. You said that.
Yeah.
I
liked it.
We kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I did like it that when Charlie figured out what was happening, he was following him, and Sawyer's like, get away from me. And he's like, no, man, I'm going to follow you. And like, and he's holding this baby. And you have to assume that this is the first time that Charlie's ever held a baby, and he's running in the sand. And as a mom, I don't even want to run in the sand with an infant, let alone someone else's infant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I'm the same way.
So, but good for Charlie for figuring it out, and I did love it that that Sawyer stepped up. So.
Okay, no, I'm glad that was your number 2, and I'm glad that you incorporated that in your top 3, because again, that was my number 3 as well.
Good. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is we're shifting back to what we were originally talking about too. Is Shannon seeking revenge for what happened to Boone. We're seeing this is a completely different side of Shannon that we've yet to see. And this is a dark side of Shannon. We've seen this prissy, spoiled side of Shannon for a majority of the time. It kind of shifted a little bit more into more grounded when she started connecting with Saeed and such. But now we're seeing a darkness that Shannon has, and we're seeing it full fledged to the point where it doesn't really matter. She doesn't care what it's going to take. She doesn't care what is going to happen. If nobody's there to help her, she's going to take matters into her own hands. And we see her steal the key from an unconscious Jack to the case with the guns, just so she can get one and she can take care of this herself. And it almost cost John Locke his life by the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of, at this point in time, she's just ready to do what she feels needs to be done. She's not worried about the consequences. She's not worried about the after effects on herself. Like, what would this have done to her if she had taken a life? And it just doesn't matter to her at that point.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, Boone had always been Shannon's safety net, and always kind of the one constant in her life. She lost her father. She got kind of abandoned by this mother figure because she had lost her mother. So she's now lost like all of her parents, but Boone was always there for her. Boone was the one that, saved her and she could count on, she could take advantage of. She knew loved her. She took advantage of him. So there was probably a lot of guilt, a lot of regret, and just, and then that sibling grief of losing a family member on an island, and now she doesn't have anybody there. Now she's kind of like everybody else. I mean, Boone and Shannon, Jen and Son, Michael and Walt, I think, and Nikki and Paolo. Those were really the only people that came with somebody. And Rose and Bernard, right?
Bernard, yeah.
Right. So.
Well, Charlie and his heroine.
And Charlie and his heroine, of course.
Sorry, that was wrong.
They're going to be reunited soon.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't imagine how isolating that must feel. And she was off on a date with somebody who she's seeing that's very new. And so she's still not quite sure on her feelings there either, probably. So I can see how maybe staring into kind of that abyss could make you really want to do some crazy things after a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed this, for anybody that's a fan of Fear the Walking Dead. Maggie Grace is on Fear the Walking Dead. She plays a character named Al. And after she shot John Locke and she walked away and she told everybody to leave her alone, her voice deepened in that Al voice.
She was Al.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's Althea. That's so crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even really consider that, but you're right. I mean, considering the character that she plays on Fear the Walking Dead, which is a much tougher exterior character who's been through hell, kind of like what Shannon's going through before, we kind of saw a transformation from Shannon to Althea a little bit on Lost.
And I thought that was just kind of an interesting, I don't know, just an interesting thing about her. You see in this episode that Maggie Grace is a lot more than just a blonde bimbo who, sunbathes on the beach. She's actually, she's a pretty talented actress and she's got some range. And I thought that she really was very, very good in this episode.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, again, we mentioned this earlier on in earlier episodes of the podcast that you kind of flip-flop on your take between Boone and Shannon. You initially you kind of don't like Shannon at the beginning, and I think she's intentionally written that way, and she portrays that character that way purposely so that you kind of don't like her, so that when she does sort of make this transformation into this character she's becoming, you kind of have an even deeper respect for the character. And that's definitely what we're getting at this point. Because we're seeing a lot of different sides to Shannon that we never got from just this spoiled, rotten girl lying on a beach while everybody else is doing all the work. We're seeing these different sides of Shannon, and there are yet more to come, if I think about it, too. Again, she is a character that kind of short-lived. I think it's next season that we we wrap up our story of Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're getting in the meantime is definitely a lot of deeper of a character than what we initially thought when we first met her.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree.
So, all right, shifting into our number ones for this episode. Miss Kristin, what is your number one?
So I had two number ones in case we covered them, but we covered them.
Oh,
so
okay.
One of them was the title, The Greater Good, but that was kind of wrapped up in the purpose of the flashback when we talked about earlier. And then the other one would have been kind of Locke and him being covered in Boone's blood and just kind of the crazy little ride that he's been on the past couple of episodes. So we could go on to talk about the fact that, it looks like Locke is going to show somebody the hatch now.
Yeah, well, I mean, that kind of, you know what, let's jump into my number one, because my number one hasn't been mentioned yet, and I think we could probably spend quite a few minutes on my number one.
Okay.
And my number one is basically the dynamic of John Locke and Sayid.
Yeah, that's a great one.
These are two men that, when you go through the whole sequence of events of John taking Sayid to the plane and showing him, like, this is the plane that fell, this is what happened to Boone. He, with the exception of keeping the hatch a secret, he is flat out, upfront, 100% completely honest with Sayid. And there is such a dynamic between these two characters that they don't, it's a weird dynamic in that they are two characters that kind of don't trust each other, but at the same time respect each other. And that's a very weird dynamic to have, because how do you respect someone when you can't trust them? But I think it's more along the lines of, like, yes, I can't trust this person, but I kind of respect the fact that I can't trust them.
Well, you can respect their abilities without but you cannot trust them because of their abilities.
Well, I mean you look at, like
Locke is like a mountain man.
Yeah. I mean, you look, a prime example of this is, when they're walking to the plane, and Sayid is yet to believe this because he hasn't seen the plane yet for himself. There's a conversation between the two where John Locke says, well, you were an interrogator during the war, right? And Sayid, says, that's what I was. And John Locke pretty much says, well, you're doing a good job of it right now. Like, and you sit back and you listen to that conversation, and you're like, oh shit, John Locke just called you out because he knows exactly what you're doing.
Well, he knows that, Sayid and Shannon have become friends, or, more than friends. They've become close. And he probably fully expected Sayid to kind of come after him a little bit, especially, Jack has sent Sayid to interrogate Sawyer before, interrogate a bunch of people. What was interesting was when Locke reveals to Sayid, I'm the one that knocked you out and took your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's being 100% open with Sayid.
But why would he say that only to deflect from what Sayid was trying to get out of Locke? Like, Locke didn't want to talk about the accident. He didn't want to talk about the fact that his leg stopped working because he used to be paralyzed. He didn't want to talk about the fact that they had been working on the hatch. So he decided to confuse Sayid and talk about something that already happened, but he knew would make Sayid angry, right?
Yeah, I suppose he probably did it to get a rise out of Sayid. I mean, again, going back to the conversation I mentioned about, being an interrogator and such, John Locke obviously knew because he had interrogated Boone, but, when John Locke says, well, you're doing a good job of it, I took that as in, like, that was him acknowledging that he knew what Sayid was doing. But at the same time, if you or I was being interrogated by someone and we had a feeling we were being interrogated and we found it insulting, we would probably speak about that a little bit differently. Like, hey, don't interrogate me. I'm not one of, there's no reason. Like, we would become defensive. But John Locke, in that moment is like, well, hey, you're doing a good job. And that's almost a way of saying, like, hey, I respect the fact that this is what you're doing. if John had any reason to be defensive about it, he probably would have.
Well, he didn't want to talk about the hatch. He lied at first. Saeed knew he was lying, which Locke probably was like, oh, he can't tell I'm lying.
Well, he doesn't bring up the hatch until they're at the plane.
Right.
This is the conversation when they're still going to the plane.
Right.
So,
but I'm just talking about, I mean, the interrogation continued even at the Beechcraft.
Yeah. I mean, because, when Saeed mentions, like, tell me about the hatch, John deflects and is like, well, the plane has two hatches. Could be the, forward, could be the aft. Which is a great deflection, by the way. Is actually a really smart deflection of it. But Saeed wasn't falling for his BS. Like, he knew there was more to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because he even, again, like you mentioned, he calls him out at the end of the episode and tells John, like, you're going to take me to the hatch.
Right.
And that's, I believe, what we're going to see next week. Is, I could be wrong. Maybe that's not what we're going to see next week. I think it is. Which is on the runs. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's not what we're going to see next week. Maybe that's not until the finale that we see that. But yeah, the dynamic between these two characters is like it was one like I want to see more of, and I'm pretty sure we do get more of it. But it was so engrossing to watch because like what's a good way to put this? Like, again, they respect each other, but they don't trust each other. And that's it. You watch that and you are completely engrossed with the conversation, wanting to know who's going to say what next. Mm-hmm. And like, I loved it. It was probably my favorite part of this episode was that entire sequence of them going to the plane and when everything is going on at the plane.
Yeah, I would agree that was pretty great.
So, I think that's pretty much. I think that's going to do it for our top three. I do have a couple other things in my notes. I don't know if you have anything else.
I thought it was pretty funny when they were talking about Irvine, California. I'm from Irvine. I was I was raised in Irvine. I went to elementary school in Irvine, California. And so when she said it's just south of LA, I'm like, no, I guess you could say that, but that's false, but okay. So my husband and I had a good little chuckle about that because, there's Los Angeles, like of what people think of as Los Angeles and Irvine, California are just, it still takes like an hour and a half to get to LA from Irvine. Yeah. So I just thought it was just a funny little thing that they said.
It's like people who live in the valley. Well, the valley is like still 40 minutes from LA. Like you've got a ways to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like people don't want to go out to the valley because it's too far.
Yeah, exactly. I have friends who live out in LA right now. They say they live in LA, but they live in the valley, which is still technically Los Angeles County, but it's like 40 minutes away from what people imagine the heart of LA is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're flying into LAX or something like that, and you're like, yeah, okay, we need to go to like, Ventura County now. You're like, no, I'm not gonna do that actually.
It kind of reminds me too.
It's a really expensive Uber ride, people.
It kind of reminds me too, like the same way you got that chuckle about that is, I get a chuckle from if you've ever seen the movie The Sixth Sense. Mm-hmm. There's in the opening of the movie they show like these really really beautiful row homes, and then at the bottom the wording shows South Philadelphia. And literally, when I saw that in theaters, I'm seeing it at a theater in South Philly, and the entire theater started laughing. We're like, where the hell is this in South Philadelphia?
Because I would like to sign up to live there.
Yes, exactly.
Please.
Because I'm going to be moving soon if I can find it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, I just love it when people, think some things are added into scripts because, while you can't identify with Irvine, California, you could probably identify with Los Angeles. And so you're like, it's just south of LA. Yeah. Okay, sure, whatever. Let's just pretend that's true. And yes, Orange County is south of LA County. I get it. I'm from there. but Irvine and LA are still pretty good drive. So,
I have two other things in my notes. I don't know how long we'll spend on either one of them, but one of them is the fact that when you look at some of the flashback that we got with Saeed, and we're definitely seeing this in the current on the island as well, and it's the fact that Saeed is one hell of a silver-tongued salesman.
Mm-hmm.
He could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves.
Yes.
Literally. You look at him talking his friend back into becoming a terrorist.
And then says he'll do it with him.
Yeah. And this is a guy that, one, didn't even want to be involved in this situation to begin with, but to get what he wanted out of it, kind of selfish a little bit, but not really, because he does try and save him in the end. He talks a great game and gets him right back on board. Mm-hmm. Like, he literally could convince anyone of anything, because he's that good.
Yeah. Well, and then it was also, the CIA and the ASIS, they were pretty much telling him, if you don't do this for us, we're going to ruin the love of your life's life. Yeah. So he was probably, he probably felt like he had been backed into a corner. I loved the bit when he was in the apartment and he found the bug. And he did it just so smoothly. Like, you guys are amateurs. You didn't even know that this was here.
Well, that was his way in.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, right, exactly. But he just did it in such a way that was just very smooth and I could just imagine that these guys that are playing video games in a cramped apartment in Sydney, Australia, that thought that they were a big deal. This guy comes in and does his little, parlor trick, and all of a sudden they're like, teach me, what do you want us to do?
Oh, you're in. You're in with us now.
Yeah, exactly. And he was so sly at the mosque when he didn't approach him. He just positioned himself so that Assam would eventually look at him. Yeah. Which I thought was very smart.
Saeed is extremely intelligent. Extremely intelligent.
Well, it's good he was an intelligence officer then.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Ha ha ha, la 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 la. I'm here all week.
Oh, God. Anyway, one of the other things I just thought of, too, in relation to Saeed and the flashback, is we're getting another instance of seeing how Saeed ended up on the plane, because he was given a plane ticket for an oceanic flight that he actually ended up postponing, mm-hmm. which is what put him on flight 815. Now, the question is this an outside influence that got him on that flight? Because to me, this is actually Saeed's own influence that put him on that flight. Because it was Saeed's decision to postpone the flight. There wasn't an outside influence that kind of postponed it or forced him on that flight, kind of with Claire, who was given the plane ticket by the psychic, and Jack, who was in that reign of time that he had to get his father's body back to LA. This is a situation where Saeed kind of did it to himself, because he was the one that decided to postpone the flight. He could have been on an earlier flight, but didn't. Mm-hmm. So it was just interesting to me that this is one of the cases that it was kind of within Saeed's own control.
Well, they would not have survived more than a couple of weeks without Saeed.
You think?
I think he's just too important to the group. I think that it would be a catastrophic loss at this point in the story if he weren't to make it, if he wasn't to make it.
Okay. Do you know what's funny too is thinking about the importance of these characters and who holds more importance over the other. There's another situation that happens later on in the series that, while I think all of these characters are important, I think there are a number of characters who are a little bit more important than others. And I think they kind of get narrowed down when we start talking about the Oceanic Six. And Saeed is one of the Oceanic Six.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how that plays out as we get closer to that. The only other note, do you have any other notes, by the way? I don't feel like I'm hijacking the
I don't
conversation.
think so.
Okay.
No.
And then, so we'll wrap up with this then before we start going into everything else. But the only other piece of note that I have is there's one line that is said by Shannon that really shined a light on something else. In the scenario at the end of the episode where Shannon is holding the gun to John Locke and Saeed is there to kind of control it, Kate is there, Jack is there. Shannon says to Jack, "You told me he was a liar." I
wrote that down.
This goes to show you, and you're going to like where I'm going with this.
That Jack is the worst?
Yes. This goes to show you how much of an influence Jack has on this group. Because if Jack was able to say that at just in one line in passing, and Shannon took that as seriously as she did, Jack has more influence on this group than anybody believes.
That is just criminal.
Which means that Jack really has to rein in what he does, because people are starting to. Oh, I know he does, which is why I said you were going to love where this is going, because it's leading right into your whole Jack is the worst theory. Although you're not going to call it a theory, you're going to call it a conclusion.
It's a conclusion.
It's a foregone conclusion.
Foregone conclusion.
Sorry, whatever. I don't use that word a lot.
You messed it up. You're stupid.
It's not in my vernacular. Whatever. But yeah, so Jack is a huge influence on this group, and that I think is one of the first real instances where we really see it.
Yeah, Locke looked pretty shook by it.
Yeah. So
kind of like, what are you saying about me, you jerk?
Yeah. Well, you're not around. You're hunting boar that you never catch because you're digging out a hatch.
Well, okay, but other people could hunt too.
That's true.
Like
Boone. Look what happened to him, though.
Jin, if it weren't for Jin, they'd all starve.
Yeah, because Jin catches all the fish.
I know. Jin and Sun's saving Jack's ass by getting, the sea urchin needles, even though he's mocking her the entire time. I'd just like to, you know what? We should just have a section where we just bash on Jack.
It's another segment like the Manifest Minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Jack is the worst.
That'll be the theme. Like I said, that's the theme music.
I say it enough.
I know. That's why I'm going to do it. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Between Jin catching fish and Sun planting vegetables and such, without the two of them, this island would be screwed.
Yeah, of course they would.
Because John's not catching boar. He's too interested in planes and hatches and everything else. But I still love John Locke. He's still one of my favorite characters in the series.
I do like John. I do. I love the complexity of John. I think that Jack is kind of like a one-note piano player.
But yet he's still kind of the opposite end of John Locke. He's the opposite side of the John Locke spectrum.
Yes, John Locke is playing symphonies on the piano, and Jack is over there, like, struggling with chopsticks.
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing John Locke playing a symphony and Jack Shepherd like the cat with its paws on the piano, or like a cat just walking across the piano keys.
Yes, he's a cat walking across the piano keys going, "Whoops, sorry." Couldn't find my litter box. This is fine, right?
I'm just going to piss on the keys. That's so wrong.
Somewhere in the ether, Dez is like punching walls.
I know. And the best part about it is he's already left us feedback for next week too. So it's going to be 2 weeks before he gets to leave us any audio feedback on it. He'll say stuff on the Facebook page though, for sure. Or he'll just message us privately like he did last time.
I know. Hi, Dez. Love you.
And we're going to be getting him on the podcast soon too. So.
That should be fun.
It's going to be even more fun when that happens. All right. So that's going to wrap it up for the breakdown of the episode of Lost. Let's get into the part that I know you like to talk about, and that's the Manifest Minutes.
Manifest.
So, What was that?
That was a plane taking off.
All right, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure before I asked. So we're 7th episode of Manifest, titled Snafu, or SNAFU as it's abbreviated. Yeah, it's funny because as the show is starting to progress, it's starting to get more and more away from the plane aspect, but deeper into the characters, which I'm really liking.
Okay, so I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I was watching it last night and I had a little epiphany, and I wanted to see what you thought about my epiphany. I think that this show is named Manifest because the people that were on this plane while they were on like a literal manifest, they have abilities that are manifesting in different ways.
Ooh, I did not think about that.
And I was really excited about it. I was like, oh my gosh, this could be less about the fact that they were on a plane and more, as we get into the meat of the show, about the fact that people are coming not only to be in this connected, what do they call it, collective consciousness that Fiona Clark was talking about, but, you know, Cal has some abilities that are manifesting, and B Stone. Oh my gosh, I wanted to punch that guy every single time he said B Stone. His abilities and linked up with his intelligence is manifesting in completely different ways as well, and it's all kind of coming together. And so I just wanted to know what you thought about that.
No, I like that theory, and I like the fact that the title of the show could have a deeper meaning than just what we think it is. And that's one of the things that I really like that idea, and it was one I didn't even really think of until you just brought it up.
And it's so cool though, because now it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it really does make a lot of sense. And going on that note too, I touched on this a little bit last week when we were talking about Manifest, and I'm going to touch on it more even again this week. I'm sticking to my theory. Cal is the central point of all of this.
Oh, absolutely. He seems to be the only one that saw the light.
He is the catalyst. He saw that light on the plane that we know of. He's the only one that we've seen, and he's the one. He's not hearing the calling like everybody else is. He's not hearing it like Ben and Michaela are, but he still has a sense of things, especially at the very end, because I called it last week too, that Deputy Vance was going to be an ally for Ben.
I love him. But it's so funny because he didn't want to reveal himself to Ben.
Well,
he wanted to remain an adversary.
He will.
Well, yeah, I saw that, but don't you think that that's interesting that he still acted like he was kind of like an antagonist?
Because I don't want him. I think it's because he doesn't want him to believe that he's on his side just yet. Especially because I'm still sticking to my thought of that Deputy Powell is not on their side. I think he's an inside man for whoever is behind all this, which I think he's not even, when Vance starts teaming up with Ben, he's not going to loop Powell in on this. They're doing.
Well, I thought that Vance was about to die after that phone call when he was going into his house. I go, dude, you're gonna die.
Oh God,
this is the end of you.
I really hope that doesn't happen. But at the end of the episode, going back to Cal, when Cal says to him, like, "Don't worry, Dad, he's not a bad guy," and I'm like, this is getting like things I'm starting to predict are coming true, and I'm loving it. And I really think there is so much more to Cal than we think. And I'm sorry to keep going, but one of the things it's weird how this episode did something that I didn't like at first, but ended up loving at the end. And that was the heartbeat with Michaela.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I loved it was so great.
When she was having the heartbeat and it was leading her to finding, the guy that they let loose and everything. I liked the fact that was part of the calling, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, what the hell does a heartbeat have to do with anything? And when it's revealed at the end that the heartbeat was her best friend's, that she feels responsible for
Evie's
ending her
heart.
life. Yeah. Like, seriously, my heart sank. But in a good way. Like,
That was beautiful.
It was so well done that I immediately at the end of that, I was like, I'm never questioning anything again for this show.
No, they've got it down for sure. That just that caught me a little. That caught me right in the feels,
Yep.
as it is said. I agree. I just thought that was beautifully done, and I love it that she went back to Evie's mom and she said, "I saw Evie and she's doing all right. She's okay."
Yeah. No.
That was just beautifully done, and you could see that Evie's mom, she was relieved, and it was almost like closing that hurt for her.
Well, I think it was. I think it was a way for whatever this calling is to not only help, but kind of for her to not only help somebody else, but to kind of help herself at the same time. I think whatever this calling is, I think it's not only helping others, but I think it's self-improving. I think this calling is meant to help them too.
I'm glad I got her out of that house for dinner. You know what? The whole thing is really weird. Like, I understand that it's been 5.5 years for everybody that wasn't on the plane, but the fact that Ben and Michaela are not being given the respect or space that they deserve by these people that, her friend that married her fiance, her Ben's wife, Danny, that just keeps showing up, and then he's on the driveway and he's like, I can't go anywhere. If she reaches out to me, I can't say no. And it's like, fucker, yes you can. I'm sorry, but I understand that you went through whatever with these people, and I may be changing my tune a little bit from last week after this episode, but they're like, be a good guy and just step aside. Say, why don't you train for this rock climbing with your dad or something, And then he's on the driveway and he's staring at Grace, and Grace is just, the whole thing is just weird and uncomfortable. And I don't know, there was that moment when Ben was pulling up in his car and he sees Danny there, and I'm just thinking to myself, no time has passed for Ben. Like, he got on a plane and he got off a plane, and now his life is this complicated.
Yeah.
And it just sucks. Like, Michaela wasn't married. She didn't have kids. She didn't have this 15-year-long history with a family. While it blows the situation that she's in and it's heartbreaking, Ben is seeing another man. He gets off a plane and another man has entered his home and taken his role with his daughter. That just doesn't sit right with me. It'd be different if they were divorced or separated or anything, but Danny's not going away, and it doesn't look like Ben really wants Danny around. So I think that it would be in Danny's best interest to maybe have some sort of a friendship or a conversation or some sort of relationship, for lack of a better word, with Ben before he goes and pokes his nose in Olive's business again.
Well, but here's my thing about it too, and I agree with what you're saying completely, but I don't think it falls on the responsibility of Ben and Danny. I think this falls on the responsibility of Danny and Grace.
Well, Grace is useless. She's not going to do anything.
I mean, the fact that she was there and smiling at him and everything, no, if she wants any chance of salvaging what she has with Ben, even though it hurts her to separate from Danny, she has to be respectful to Ben and tell Danny, look, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep interacting with Olive. You can't keep coming around here. I think the responsibility has to fall on Grace to do this.
But she's not going to.
She's not.
We saw that in the driveway scene.
No, exactly. But at the same time, I also have a mad respect for Ben to be able to handle that the way he did. in
Oh,
literally
he is a class act.
literally just being able to walk past him and be like, "Hey, nice to see you, Danny," and then just walk past him, like not even acknowledging the fact that what Ben said about Olive. Like he literally was just like, "Nice to see you," and walked past. I mean, it is the classiest way to handle that situation, while at the same time making his point known that I really have nothing to say to you. So, I mean, I have a mad respect for Ben and the way he handled it. By not handling it at all.
Right. Just kind of skipping past it.
Yeah. Like, I almost don't see you right now.
Which is how he has to play it. I mean, that there comes a time where you have to protect your heart, and he's going through a lot. I mean, he's got a son that is connected to whatever's happening with UDS, and he's trying to get to the bottom of it. He's got the NSA breathing down his back. He's got a marriage that seems to be falling apart, a daughter that he doesn't know. And now there's this weird man on his driveway that won't go away.
Well, I mean, but thinking about it, though, at the same time, I think Ben does share a little bit of the guilt. And my reason behind that is he is the one that kind of encouraged Olive to keep with the climbing.
Which, again, is classy.
It is. But, I mean, again, he's kind of sharing a little bit of the guilt in that aspect.
Okay, but did Danny have to...
didn't have to bring her home. Didn't have to come to the house.
Get out of the... it's like, okay, you could take her home, but don't get out of the car. Okay, you could get out of the car, but don't walk on the driveway. If Ben hadn't pulled up, he would have probably gone into the house.
True. Yeah.
So that's on Danny. I don't know. I think you may be right, and maybe it's on Grace. We'll see if Grace does anything about it. But you know what? The whole situation is messed up. But I just think that this is an extenuating circumstance. If I would hope that if, as somebody who's married with a family, if my husband were to be gone for 5.5 years or me or something like that, presumed dead, and then they come back, I'm in another relationship or Dave is in another relationship, I would really hope that that other person would be able to step aside and let a family come back together. You don't want to be in the way of a family. They're a family. That's wisdom we learned from Friends, man.
Yeah. You know what? In my opinion, hey, let Grace have Danny and take Olive, and Ben can take Cal and be with Sanvi.
Well, and I think that they're setting that up. We talked about that last week. I think that they are setting that up. Sanvi and Ben seem to have a lot more chemistry than Ben and Grace do.
Not to mention the fact the shared experience of what they went through with the plane.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. I'm very excited week to week for this show to air. I'm invested. I'm in. I love it.
Yeah,
so.
I am as well. I'm fully into it.
Before we move on, what do you think about Fiona Clark?
Oh, there's definitely more to her than.
Well, did you notice that the line that she said to the woman that died in the first episode or two, when she said, "This plane ride is happening for you and not to you"?
Oh no, didn't even pick up on that.
Well, she was complaining about the fact that she's not supposed to be on the plane, blah, 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 blah. And so Fiona shows up in the very beginning of the episode and she says, "Darling, this plane ride is happening for you, not to you. Just enjoy the journey," or something like that. It was just, I just remember my ears perked up and I'm like, you know what? Something's happening with you. You have something to do with this. I just know it. And so now we learned that she's a part of the Singularity Project. I don't know how much of what she's telling Ben and Sanvi is the truth. Maybe she is ignorant to all of it. I'm not sure. But I do know that she is a part of this collective consciousness mirror factor thing that is happening with UDS and whatever happened on that plane. I think Fiona is going to be a huge part of it in the coming episodes.
She might have been a willing participant to whatever it is that happened to them, and aware of it ahead of time.
Or it was her project, and she's the one that actually said, let's try doing it this way. I mean, she may not know what's going on with the 11 missing passengers, but she absolutely had something to do with the experiment that happened on this plane. I don't think it's aliens at all. I think it's whatever it is that Fiona Clark is doing with some other super secret company, group, faction of the super secret government that operates in Mole Town underneath the sewers of New York. I don't know.
The Men in Black.
No, deeper than that.
Oh, there's deeper than the Men in Black?
Yeah, I think it's called UDS, man.
Somebody tell Tommy Lee Jones.
I think it's called the Mirror Factor.
Yeah, I think there's definitely more to her at the same time, especially considering the fact that she's either lying about knowing what the calling is or she's never gotten it, which means somehow she might have been immune to it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or yeah, maybe, or she knew what was going to happen. I mean, she's pretty successful right now. She's got this whole, I mean, everybody's kind of scrambling for jobs, and she's already on a tour about collective consciousness using her Flight 828 status as a way to get people to come.
Yeah.
So she seems to already have this presentation ready to go.
True.
I don't know. And, I think this is the real story, and we're kind of, focused in on it's like Game of Thrones, right? Everybody is focused in on who's going to win the Iron Throne, when really what we should be worried about are the White Walkers. Right? So
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? So we're all talking about who's going to be with who, and should Danny step aside, and
no, Danny should not step aside.
Well, right.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Blah 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 blah. Exactly. But really, what this story is about is who is Fiona Clark, and what does she have to do with what happened on this plane, and how is this going to propel the story forward?
Yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, yeah, it's like you said, there's more to this show that's kind of underneath of it, just like the title, which you brought up in the beginning. Which I really, that's a car, that's not a plane. Sorry. Yeah, so I agree with you. I think there's definitely a deeper meaning to not only the show's story but the title at the same time. So. Alrighty, we've got some feedback this week, and we got another voicemail that we have to listen to, but unfortunately, it's not from our friend Steve this week. It's from our buddy Dez.
Dez.
And he might say something about like how Jack is the worst and everything, or how he believes Jack is not the worst. We don't listen to the voicemails until we play them, so I don't know what he's going to say. He might be critical. I don't know.
He will be critical, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Let's go ahead and play that voicemail now.
Hey Ben, hey Kristin, this is Des. Just a few thoughts on the greater good. Last episode, Kristin, you were curious about how if John hadn't lied to Jack about what happened to Boone, if he could have saved his life. Well, Jack did say, I based my medical treatment on what he said. John lied. Now, whether or not this means he could have saved his life, probably not, but one thing with all the people lying to each other about everything on the island, one thing they should definitely be talking about is health and safety. If somebody gets hurt, he needs to know what happened. He probably couldn't have saved Ben, but, there are small things that could have tragic results if you treat him wrong. Another thing, Turnip Head, come on, Charlie. That is not the way to win Claire's heart, by calling her son a turnip head. Yeah. But, she could get on the ball and name him a little bit faster. Let's see. Really, that's pretty much all I have to say about the episode itself. I was never a big fan of Saeed episodes, and here I'm going to editorialize just a tiny bit about how great and important a show Lost was in whole. I was born in the 60s, kid in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, adult in the 90s. There was so much racism against Iraqis, Iranians while I was growing up. People were trying to get their shit in order about other races, but in the 80s, it was literally okay to hate Iran. nationals and Iraqi. So when this show came along, I'm like, okay, we'll give it a try, you know. And at first, I just kept saying, okay, he was in the Republican Guard. Does that mean we're not supposed to like him? And I kind of like zoned out a lot on Saeed. I kept thinking, well, if they're going to make him a good guy, they've got to make him a good guy. You cannot see any badness in this guy if they're trying to change people's opinions about Iraqis. And as the show went on, I just kept zoning out on the Saeed episodes, kept zoning out. Towards the end, you saw what a great guy he was. You couldn't avoid it. So when I would rewatch it, you know, I would get much more interested in the Saeed episodes and see how he is a much more layered character. So they were right. You can't just show him as a great guy. You can't just show him as the evil Iraqi. You know, you have to show a person with layers. And they pretty much did that with most of the characters on the show. I mean, look at Jin and Sun. I mean, completely changed through the series. Well, I'll get off my soapbox now. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
I love Des.
I had to pause his voicemail because his voicemail still goes for like another 20 seconds with nothing to it. But yeah, I do too. I'm glad he's starting to bring us in voicemails too, because I know how big of a fan of the show that he is. So, and again, we're hopefully gonna have him on to break some episodes down when we jump into season 2 as well. But I mean, first off, like Des, I'm on your side about how Jack is the worst sometimes, or how Jack is not the worst sometimes, because I know he's a big fan of Jack. But man, don't start insulting Charlie, because then we're gonna have problems.
That's an interesting point that he brought up about Saeed, though, and just what his frame of mind was watching the show initially, and how he would zone out. And I wonder how, if that was a common occurrence when the show came out. I mean, because I was born in the 80s. You know, I was born in 1980, and I kind of grew up whatever. I didn't care about who was who or who looked like what or who liked who, or it just never crossed my mind as anything other than these are people. And that's not saying that anything else is wrong. I guess that just my thought was that never crossed my mind. But I guess if you grow up a little bit earlier, if you're a little bit older, whatever, maybe there are preconceived notions about people, especially when probably war was still so fresh. But I think that the showrunners did an amazing job with all of the characters in the show, especially Saeed. I think Saeed is very right. He's a very layered character. He's not all bad. He's not all good. But wow, what an incredible character, and what a great journey that he went on.
Yeah. No, but I do think there is a degree, though, that I think there's a degree of something correct in what Des was saying, though, in that I think when you first meet Saeed, I think you're meant to question his character,
yes,
because of where he's from. And
absolutely,
I mean, you look at the whole scene when him and Hurley are first speaking, and they're talking about Desert Storm. You know, Hurley says, "Hey, you were in Desert Storm." And like, that's cool. I had a buddy over there. Like, what were you in? And, you know, Saeed tells him the Republican Guard. And it kind of is off-putting to Hurley a little bit, because it was like, hey, he was on the opposite side. So I definitely think there are elements of Saeed's character when you first meet him that are supposed to be.
I forgot about that. That's a great point.
I think there are elements of Saeed's character when you first meet him that are meant to make you question his character.
Absolutely.
But I think you have to watch the backstories and everything else to realize that he is not, like, when it came to Desert Storm, he was literally just doing a job. And that's not the job that he was doing, was not his character to a complete degree. There are definitely elements.
He's punching a time clock.
Yes, there are definitely elements of what he did that became part of his character, like interrogating and things like that. But and you know, and being able to sell a guy to become a terrorist. But it's not completely who he was. So, and you do have to watch, because he is a many-layered character.
Yes. I will agree with that.
So, but no, that's a great editorial from Des on that, too.
Yeah, thank you, Des.
So, and I know he's going to have voicemail for us next week too, because he's already given it to us. So we'll play that.
Jack is the worst.
We will play that next week. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for everything. I know we definitely would love to hear feedback from other listeners as well. And there are definitely ways that you can do that. First off, we are on Facebook at facebook.com/Lost Revisited.
We're on Instagram at Lost Revisited Pod.
You can email us at lostrevisited.pod@gmail.com.
And if you want to leave us a message, much like Des did, you can record it yourself and then just send it to our email address.
Lastly, of course, we encourage you to check out all of the other podcasts and programs that we have, both on the Next Level Podcast Network and the Podcastica Network, in which this podcast is a joint collaboration between both.
Yay!
So I know you are undergoing a new journey with your House Podcastica podcast, in which you are doing a weekly rewatch, but you are actually going to be doing 2 a week now.
Doubling down, yeah.
Because HBO just announced that season 8 is going to be debuting in April, and you want to be caught up by the time the show debuts.
Yes, so we're going to do 2 a week until the end of January, and then we'll slow down and take it week by week until the premiere. So we'll do season 7, episode 7, last week of March, first week of April. They're kind of at the same time. And man, it's going to be busy, but I'm really excited because I never want to just watch one episode. I always want to watch another one. So I'm excited that I get to watch 2 a week.
And now, are you going to be recording 2 episodes of the podcast a week, or are you going to be covering 2 episodes of the show per episode?
No, 1 episode per podcast still.
Okay.
Because it's too much to talk about, especially as the show gets more complicated. If we were to do 2 episodes for one podcast, I just don't think that would do the story any service.
Kind of why we went to weekly with ours.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Makes total sense. I'm excited because it gives me more opportunities between now and January to be on your podcast.
And you will. Don't worry.
That's good because I had fun when I did it last week. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, as well as on Podcastica, I know Strange Indeed just launched with they just started their Haunting of Hill House, which I know you won't listen to because you don't watch the show.
Nope.
Because you're a chicken shit.
But I am. But I give anybody credit that's going to watch that. Who do you have up on your spotlight?
Right now I'm working on there's a character actor I'm going to be having on probably. He's the only one that's scheduled right now. I have a couple other ones in the works. I'm still working on some people from the Goldbergs and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, as well as hopefully some of the actors from Lost, some of the DC actors, and also working on getting another cast member or 2 from New Amsterdam.
Cool.
The only person that is a 100% scheduled right now is a character actor named Patrick Kilpatrick. It sounds like a funny name, but trust me, if you've seen a lot of action movies and movies from like the mid 90s and the early 2000s, you've seen this guy's face. But he's writing a new book. He's actually written a new book that comes out in January, so I'm going to be having him on the podcast to promote the book in January.
Oh, great.
So I'm looking forward to that. But a couple other, again, bites or nibbles just waiting on solidifying things and such. And hopefully the one I'm working on right now, which I hope to God comes through, I really, really do, is right now a current interview in the works is with Jack Black and Kyle Gass, a.k.a. Tenacious D.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So I'm a huge Jack Black fan. I'm a huge Tenacious D fan. So I'm hoping that interview comes to fruition. And if it does, you should be hearing that. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, before Thanksgiving.
All right.
We shall see.
Keep a lookout for it.
So, but other than that, obviously we encourage you to check out some of the other ones like Panels to Pixels, which is on Next Level Podcast Network, Strange Indeed and House Podcastica, which I mentioned on the Podcastica Network, as well as Walking Dead Cast. Yes, which is in full-fledged effect right now with Walking Dead being
so good.
Again, one of the best shows. Man, this last week's episode was with the 6 years later.
So good.
Was really good.
So good. I can't wait for Sunday.
I know.
Every week. I'm like, can it be Sunday again, please?
Yeah.
Please.
And you know what? I kind of lost that these last 2 years, these last 2 seasons, and I'm glad it's back.
Yeah, me too.
Really, really glad it's back. But that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of We Have to Go Back. Next week, I should have had this pulled up, and I don't. We have one more episode before we start getting into the finale of season 1, and I want to say next week's episode is a Kate episode. It's Born to Run, yeah, episode 22, Born to Run, which is a Kate flashback. So this is one where that's right, this is the one where Michael gets sick while building the raft.
Ah, good.
Yeah, so this is going to be another good one. And again, we're right before the finale, and there is a ton that happens in this 3-part finale. So much so that it's going to be 2 podcasts. It's going to take
Yay!
It's going to take us 2 weeks to cover the finale.
Yeah.
So, but until that time, obviously, we encourage you to like us on Facebook, follow us, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you listen, if you don't already. Leave us a review on iTunes, because we might read it on the podcast at the same time. But until next week, we'll see you guys further down that rabbit hole. Take care.
Bye!
We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back!